Okay, there was a question on one of my other videos about Cadillac gauge and how to use it. So I'm going to attempt to create a video showing the calibration of it and the usage of it. The calibration of it, the only reason I'm going over that is I acquired this Cadillac gauge because at my former workplace, because the calibration expert said, I can't calibrate that. And I go, duh. So they put it in a 5S sale. I got it for 50 bucks. I know that this one here is a Brown and Sharp, and I know at one time they were selling for upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 bucks. So I scooped it up for 50 bucks. So, but anyway, I want to show you. And it's not that Cadillac back there. It's this. That's my wife's. It's this unit right here. Let me get the height stand up a little bit so I can get the whole thing in the picture. Maybe back up, back up, back up. All right. So the first thing is the calibration of it. To calibrate this thing, get yourself the regular gauge blocks, and you go ahead and take a reading off the gauge block, and then take a reading off the step, and they should match. The number should match. 4-inch, 3-inch, whatever. If it doesn't, you loosen the screw right here and right here on the back side, and you basically turn the what do you call it, sleeve or whatever you want to call it. You turn that to calibrate it to the 0. Okay, I just realized that that's only half of the calibration. Now the other half is you want to make sure that the upward or the top end, because we went down to the lower end, bringing it up. Now we want to make sure that the top the top of that block is correct also, which will give you the height. Like say you're checking a hole. Where's the pencil here? Say you're checking a hole. So you got a hole here, and you want to know where the exact height of that hole is. What you do is you put your indicator in here, move back and forth, pick up the bottom of that hole. You get your height reading there. Say it's 2 inches, and then you come up here, pick up the top of the hole, and say that's 2 inches 200. So now you know that the center line of that is 2 inches 100. And so we need to calibrate the top end of it also. So what I did for that, just to check it, is I take the height stand, and I take a couple gauge block, and now this one is a 3-inch gauge block. Same thing, take it, slide it on the paper, get it on there. But first we're gonna ring, and what I mean by ring is you're gonna slide this smaller gauge block on there, and you're gonna create like a vacuum in between. I know that sounds strange, but it works. You take and you start at the edge, and you slide it on there, and if you do it right, it'll stick. It'll stick to it. I still haven't done it right. Sometimes you need to go back and because they got to be really clean. No fingerprints, no nothing on them.
Well, for crying out loud, I'm having difficulties here. Usually I can get it right away. Okay, you can see now it's stuck on there. So now we take and put this down, and we come in with our indicator under the ledge now. Can you see what I'm doing here? Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm gonna come into underneath it. So I slid that. I ring the blocks together and slide it over so that the top block is protruding beyond the edge of the 3-inch. That way I can get a reading on the underside. And again we go right to 0. Now we slide it over here, and now we go on the underside. You know, because over here is for the height wise. This is also for the height wise, but it's on the underside now. So we go on the underside of the 3. So I'm going to crank it up above the 3. And then when we come down, I'll get this other high stand out of the way. And what I do is I go beyond and then come back to it. So right there. And now if it's off, if this number happened to be off up here, move this high stand out of the way. If that number was off, having difficulties here. Get this out of the way. You know, so if that number was off, you take the screw out of the top up here. There's a screw, and then slide that off. Then there's a tension collar around the threads. It's the same as a mic, a regular mic. And you tighten that up, and it'll tighten the threads up so you can get rid of the backlash. Basically, you're adjusting the backlash to 0, and it's no big deal to do that, because once you do that, then you go back and you recalibrate the height and recheck everything again. But anyway, calibration at my former employer, they I don't know. I don't think they just didn't want to spend time doing it. So anyway, and when I got it, this sleeve and this head was loose and wasn't tightened up, and I just tightened it up, and I never even really had to calibrate anything. It was right on. So I checked it with a 1-inch block, with a 2, with a 3, with a 4, with a 5, and all the numbers were there. So anyway, I just thought maybe I better go back and clarify that. But if you're checking, like I say, if you got a hole pattern that you want to check, and you got it on the knee, and you come and you pick up this and pick up the bottom, and then subtract the 2, and then take half, you'll find the exact center of the hole, and then you can find it to a ledge. You check your part out basically that way. So anyway, I hope that helps you understand the calibration of it and the use of it. So usage of it, it's pretty straightforward, I hope. I got a high stand over here on the other surface plate, and really when you go from one surface plate or machine or whatever, you should take a clean sheet of paper, put it down on your surface plate, This is just to get the grime and gunk off of it. And you set it down on the piece of paper and slide it off. That way you know the bottom of that is clean. Alright, so the other day I was measuring a 1, 2, 3 block on my new DRO that I had put on my machine. I wanted to just check it, make sure it was accurate, so that I didn't have to put any linear adjustment in it. So I was using a 1, 2, 3 block. Well, 1, 2, 3 blocks are not always 1, 2, 3. They might be 1.001. They might be 0.999, or the 3 might be 3 inches and 1 thou, or 2 inches 999. Sometimes they're thou, unless you buy a high grade 1, 2, 3 block, which most people don't. You buy a standard grade, and that's they pretty much allow plus or minus a thou on them. So anyway, I should have yesterday too. It's the same thing as put it on a piece of paper, and I did run a fine stone over it to try to get any high spots off of it. So I'm going to move you over here now. I'm going to move you over to the other side so that I can be on the left-hand side. You getting dizzy? Getting dizzy yet? All right. I just wanted to move you over so you can actually see my indicator and stuff. All right, so you can take your high stand, got an indicator on it. All right. So we take and we put it on there, and we get a reading on our indicator. I don't know, maybe I should turn that light out above. Is that better? It's this light over here, up there. 1 second, I'll be back. I'm gonna go turn that light off over there because it's glaring right in the indicator. Okay, that should be a little bit better. That light was our walk-in light that still got a bit of a glare. All right, well, so I'm on the 1, 2, 3 block, and I'm going to set my height stand. And I always go down and then back up. I don't know if it makes a difference, but that is what I've always done throughout the years. Okay, so it's 0 right there, right? So now we go over to the Cadillac gauge, and we put it on one of the ledges. All these ledges along here are 1 inch apart. And then we crank the spindle up here. We crank this. Let me back up here. Crank this until the indicator comes to the 0. So we just crank that until we're right on to 0. Right there. The camera doesn't want to focus when I get too zoomed in. So anyway, then we take our reading, and we know it's on the 3-inch ledge. And this is actually digital, but the digital throughout the years has been kind of worn, so I just read the analog scale, or whatever you want to call it. And you'll see that 3-inch, that 1, 2, 3 block is actually 1, 2, 3, and then the 3 is about 1/2 tenth, so 50 millionths. And like I say, to calibrate it, I got some gauge blocks here. I got a 4-inch gauge block, and the gauge block, same way, piece of paper, set it down on the piece of paper. You set it down on the piece of paper, and just slide it off. That's the same thing with a mic. You never, I never bring a mic to 0 without putting a piece of paper in it first. And that's just something I was taught. And I have followed it many years, and it's always worked for me. Hasn't messed up my, I've got the same mic that I started in the shop 43 years ago, and still works just fine. So I can't say the same for my calipers though. Calipers take a beating, you know, but they're just a rough measurement instrument. In my view, caliper is only good for plus or minus 5. Unless you got a veneer caliper, then it's plus or minus 1. All right, so okay, so now we're on the 4-inch, and again, the indicator's at 0, and let's carefully slide that out. I crank the Cadillac down just about a turn or so, and then we go over here on the ledge, on the number 4-inch ledge, and then we crank the thimble on top till we get to the 0. And then it should read 4, and it does right on. So hopefully that clears it up. Basically, it's just you know, people call them height stands, but they're not a height stand. A height stand is what you put your indicator on. That's a height stand. I've heard them called many a different thing, but they've all, in our area, they've always been known as a Cadillac gauge, you know. And I think if you went to buy that, it would even say Cadillac gauge. I'm not sure. So anyway, I just thought I'd get a short little video out showing you anyway, this is how I use it, how I was taught to use it, and how I've seen many people use it. So whether it's right or wrong, you'll have to decide that for yourself. Catch you later.